And each person has their own sense of priority of which is more important. And you start with seeing which is more important. You see where your sun is. Is your sun above the horizon or below? Is the objective world more important or the subjective world more important? The functional reality or the personal sense of inner being? And your sun is the first statement on this wheel of, wow, here's where the most important, my confidence is tied up to where my sun is. This is huge. I mean, you could go to a psychologist for 15 years every week, and they're trying to work to find these things. And you can start from this point without having to do that. You could get there quickly and then start working more creatively, like psychodrama. You get dramas to play out the realities of your chart. If you're writing any story or any novel of a person in a social situation, you have to take the time to build up their personal subjective being so you're identified to them as a person. Then you have to put them out into some situation that they're reacting with positively or negatively, and they succeed or don't succeed, and you have a comedy or a tragedy. So, and then, but how someone relates to it, how they deal with it, that's a whole other story. Okay. So when you look at a chart, when I see a chart, I always shade the first 6 houses. I always have that shaded in. Even if I get a computer printout, I print it out and I shade it in. So I'm always seeing the subjective and the objective sides of the chart at every moment. It's the most outstanding thing to see. Okay. So when you put these two categories together, the rising, the instigative, and the reactive, and the objective functional and the subjective being, they make 4, in the signs we had 4 seasons. Here we have 4 different dimensions, let's call it. 4 different ways of perceiving reality. And they're basically, they would be called intuition, feeling, sensation, and thinking. These categories became fairly famous through Carl Jung's psychology. However, he applied the intuition, feeling, sensation, thinking to the 4 elements and related to them more abstractly in the signs of through the signs of the zodiac and through the elements. This is a very different thing. This is using these words for very specific qualities, and we have to go through it to see, is this really so? And this is our basic foundation of understanding the houses. Whether it's about money, whether it's about relationships, all these things are based on whether it's intuition, feeling, sensation, or thinking. Okay, let's think about this for a minute. We got intuition, we got feeling, sensation, and thinking. So is intuition, is it an objective thing or a subjective thing? Intuition's a subjective thing because it's inside ourselves. My intuition, it's my sense of something. It's not irrational. I just feel. It's not even a feeling. It's an intuition. I got a light. I see it. I hear it. There's an intuition. It's coming out of my depth of my being. I start to project a little bit. I start to instigate. So subjective instigation, intuition gets us going. Oh, I'm gonna get. It's the factor that gets us out of our greatest deep point where we're totally inactive, meditating, sleep. We're in our inner depth. We come out with a power of intuition, and it doesn't become. It builds up from that unconsciousness to the ascendant, the rising and below the horizon. It's intuitive because it comes up to conscious of ourselves, but it's the conscious of me, the me that goes to look in the mirror. It's not what I see in the mirror. What I see in the mirror is above the horizon. It's the objective world. How I'm feeling, how I'm getting myself together. If I'm sad and I'm trying to get myself together, what am I going to wear? What am I going to do? How do I feel? What's going to make me feel okay today? We intuitively process that part. So this is our intuitive section. Instigative, subjective. I'm personally instigating, but it's to myself. What's going to make me go? What do I feel like? What allows me to take some momentum or start doing things? Okay, so But when someone's strong in their intuition, they're pumped in what they're doing. They're pumped into what they're into, and they're into it, and they're going to put it out in the world to see how far it goes. But really, they're not being rational or projected or objective. They're just pushing what they got because they know they got it. So this is the intuitive, subjective intuition. The other subjective side would be feelings, receptive, reactive, subjective. So we're subjectively reacting. We're taking something personally. We're reacting to something outwardly, and we're making it subjective. We're taking it personally. You hurt my feelings. How could you do that to me? Oh, you love me? Oh, you like me? Oh, I'm so happy. When we get good feedback, the teacher likes me. Wow, I'm going to do great. Oh, was I okay for you, hon? Wasn't it good for you? When you get that good feedback from someone, you're the greatest. You get good response. You start feeling good about yourself because somebody else has acknowledged you and is giving you energy. You got good feedback. You feel good. When you feel good about yourself, boy, you're going to get a good night's sleep. And you're going to wake up with nice intuitions. If you don't feel good about yourself, it's going to affect your sleep, your unconsciousness, and it's going to come out and impair how much intuition. If you're the doubts of yesterday and the fears and the insecurities of yesterday stay around and are still affecting who you think you are today, that's really diminished and handicapped your intuition. And because you're damaged inside, you're not going to be able to get that much done outside and stay healthy and happy doing it. So the two subjective sides are the intuition and feeling. They're irrational. They're not rational. The thinking, it's interesting. I'm thinking, but when we're thinking, we're trying to be objective. We're trying to measure something. We're trying to think. We're trying to get perspective on it. We're trying to think about what's going on here, what's happening, what's relative to what. So the thinking quadrant is about who's our friend, what do we have to do, what do I have to do to influence so-and-so to get this done? I'm going to have to navigate this. We start thinking objectively out in the world. And this is, if I'm thinking, I'm planning, I'm strategizing, I'm making a plan of attack to go at things. So the thinking mode is about what do I have to do to achieve something. That's where it's strongest. If you try and think about your intuitions, you can do it. You can think about your feelings. You can think about your sensations. But really, thinking is strongest. We think, oh, here's the plan of what I can do. And here's what's going on. And here's the matrix I'm walking into. And it builds, if you're thinking well, you build up from your ascendant, from your identity of your ascendant, you project out into the world. You start thinking about what you're doing, who's worth talking to, what has to be done. It's your guidance system until you get to the accomplished something, until you get to your status where you've accomplished something. Once you've accomplished something, you may still be thinking, but the thinking is getting you there. Really, the key factor, once you've accomplished something, you have to be sensitive to how it affects to other people. So sensation is it really should be like sensibility. But when we have sensations, we're reacting essentially to other people. It's a response to other people, not just physically, emotionally, mentally. We're reacting, we're responding. So the ability to respond is in this sensation quadrant. One is sensationally sensitive to the effects of other people. So one can, but is able to, so if your boss is in a bad mood, you could be saying, oh, the boss is in a bad mood, so there's no sense making a big deal. You better try and help him out, and you're reacting to the other person. Some people do this really well. They know how to react to the other person objectively. And oh, if we fix this, it won't be a problem. If I can adjust this way, I'll take care of that. Won't be a problem. So some people are very strong in this ability to sense where other people are at functionally and know how to functionally respond. So in a relationship, you have, if you're in a partnership, there's a certain amount we're doing things together. I did this today. What did you do today? And then we're trying to fit together. Your parents, my parents, how much are we investing in this or investing in that? If someone goes out and just buys a car and didn't tell the partner can be threatened because someone spent a whole bunch of money and didn't share it. So the sensitivity of what the other person's doing and the ability to be functional while being sensitive to the other person, that interreactiveness, it's a very powerful capacity. This is the 9th, 8th, and 7th houses. This is the sensation to relationship. We got a problem, let's talk about it. Let's just be objective about it. We'll communicate. We have to trust things. We have to share things. We have mutual energies. We have mutual moralities of what's right and what's wrong. And if any of these get damaged, we end up with difficult relationships that are challenging us to fix it. If something's wrong in a relationship, are you objectively sensitive? I realize what the problem is. How are we gonna fix it? This is the practical psychological sensitivity to how one responds, how one's getting response or not getting response. The minute you take it personally, you've been ignoring me for a week, you're working too busy and you're not even calling me or saying I'm home, you're leaving me at home alone. Oh my goodness, why? It's really bothering me. As soon as it becomes personal, you start feeling about it. As soon as you're feeling about it, it's a subjective response. It's no longer objective or functional. You're making it more personal. So when relationships don't go so well, we can use all sorts of, we start drinking, we start avoiding, we start running away from it based on our feelings. When it's positive, wow, we feel so good, we can do something for the partner, someone's good. It's so easy to do things and play and perform because we're feeling good. So our feeling can have an effect, a powerful effect on our thinking and our functionality, but really it's a personal thing. And if you're having to put up with someone's very strong feeling person, you're going to think it's high maintenance. You have to be a special consideration for them. You can't just be objective. So this, the reaction to the partner, it's not just the person you marry, it's anyone you're working with, the reaction to the other person. Are you more sensitive to the other person or more projective about what you're putting out? Which quality is the predominant one for you? So first, the one that your confidence is going to come from is going to be the one that your sun is in. So if your sun's in the thinking quadrant, you're going to be thinking who's who, what's where, what do I have to do? We got to accomplish something that's going to be more ambitious or strategic. And planning how to navigate up to get status, respect, honor to accomplish something. If you're in a position of authority, or even if you're not, you're going to be sensitive to whether you have a relationship or not. If a relationship breaks, your functional world breaks. You're left in your personal world, you have to build up, you find someone else again, you relate again. So you can see how this spins around in many different ways. But sensation, thinking, matter of fact, objective. It's if you've got your heartbreak, you're not going to go to someone. You're not necessarily going to go to someone to think about it. You want to get feeling, you want to get support around it. This thinking is going to almost be the opposite of feeling. The same way with sensation. If you're interacting with people so much, there's no time alone for your own intuitions. You're having to respond to other people's. So the sensation, many psychologists, counselors, accountants, people working with other people's resources and trying to make it work, that's the sensation. The thinking is more the coach, the team, the person trying to get people together and see, we can put our energy, we can accomplish more, we can get more done. So that's the thinking plan. But those are all about thinking about functional realities, being sensitive to what's going on, being aware. But when you get to the personal side, boy, how consistent are we with our feelings and our intuitions? So if you're born early morning between midnight and sunrise, your sun's going to be in the intuitive quadrant. So your confidence is going to come from acting on your own intuitions, not whether you fit in, not what other people are thinking. You got to put your stuff out of you. If you're thinking, if you're born in the daylight hours of the morning, you're going to be thinking about what you have to do, who you need to know, what needs to be done. Your thinking is going to be where your confidence is. That's where your power is going to be in impressing and affecting people and doing things that get acknowledged. In the sensation quadrant, if you're born in the afternoon, the daylight hours of the afternoon, you're going to be sensitive to other people's reactions to things and how other people are doing it. You can be aware, oh, that person's a real problem. They're not getting it. Why are they in that job? You know, if someone's in a position of power that they're not capable of, it's going to affect everyone else. If someone's in a position of power that really works well and is doing it, it makes everyone else's world, makes it easier to respond to that. So this is